Well, Patrick Hidalgo is a Cuban-American who worked as the Obama campaign's Hispanic outreach director for Florida. He's now a member of the organization Cuba Now, which favors engagement. And Patrick, if this meeting happens as we expect it to happen, what will it mean to you?
Hi, Philippa. Thanks for having me. The meeting is incredibly important for someone like me, a Cuban-American that has worked on this issue. I'm not sure if we mentioned this in the past, but my mother actually was held captive, and when the revolution happened at age 17, she and her father and two of my aunts for their opposition to the revolution. And now she, even with all the anger and pain that she has carried over the last 50 years, she is for this opening and thinks it's a good idea. It's time to move on and explore a new relationship with Cuba. So knowing many other people like her of that generation that suffered directly when the revolution happened and there was a lot of bloodshed, and even seeing many of them that are in favor of this opening, that to me says that this is a good move and it's the right thing to do at this time.
Now, I know, Patrick, that members of your family have travelled backwards and forwards to Cuba trying to re-establish those ties. How much do you all think that Cubans need this? I mean, economically, do they really need it?
Absolutely. It's astounding. The thing that grabs anyone that goes to Cuba, and especially Cuban Americans, where you see a change of heart often for people that are skeptical of engagement, when they go and they speak with the average Cubans, whether it's a taxi driver or family you may have in Cuba, or the person, you know, that serves you food when you go to a paladar, is they want way more economic activity than they have. I mean, you have so many highly educated professionals right now that work for, you know, $1 tips when, you know, as my sister mentioned once on this show, you have an engineer playing a piano or serving mojitos for $1 or $2 tips when they could potentially build a bridge and get paid $20,000 a year. And that's the type of change that they need in Cuba, and which will ultimately lead to Cuba being a prosperous, stable member of the Latin American community.
Patrick, just very briefly, what impact on domestic US politics? We are just entering the campaign season for the 2016 election. And Cuban Americans are an important political constituency, as you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would just say really quickly, it's interesting. So few people get this. The difference between what Clinton won in 1996 and what Gore got in 2000 was around 50,000 votes, Cuban American votes, that Gore lost in part as a result of what happened with Elian Gonzalez, the boy that was sent back to Cuba. So the impact, the political impact on presidential politics and world history, for that matter, cannot be overstated. I mean, we would not have had George W. Bush had a Cuban incident happened in the year 2000. So I think what's fascinating right now is to see even people like Marco Rubio rolling back a little bit of the very heated critiques that he had of the moves that Obama did. Some of the Republicans, when they see the poll numbers right now coming out across the country, and from Cuban Americans specifically, they're realizing that there's way more support for this than they anticipated. And so I think the impact is very significant. I think right now there's less likelihood that it's going to be a very intense, heated political issue in the 2016 campaign than I would have guessed 3 months ago. And that's a positive change.
Patrick Hidalgo, good to speak to you again on the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.